It's time for renewal. Would you agree? We can renew every day, right? In fact, this is not a personal calling. This is the calling of the universe. That's what life invites us to do all the time, renew, keep moving. So let me just adjust here because, how about that? Let's start with this. This is a reflection from this book from Joanna de Angelis, The Spirit, and channeled by Divaldo Franco. And this is a very, very good calling for us to think. And we have 4 different pictures here for us to think about why it's important to renew, even though we are already in such an era of technology and knowledge. Let's see what she says. Where is this contemporary society heading, as it is supposed to have reached the great level of culture, technology, knowledge, but lacks the deep meanings of dignity and self-love? So it's highlighted there, red. For us, we're going to be talking about dignity and self-love throughout our talk tonight, and why it's necessary, it's imperative that we reevaluate, reassess values, reassess our lives, and see if we are living in dignity and self-love. Because what's happening right now, we're mistaking them with presumption and violence in various facts, various different types. We see here a lot of technology going on. We see even in times of violence, you see the dudes in the back there playing with the cell phone, and we are in such an amazing times of progress. But there is so much progress in so many ways. But unfortunately, we have not reached the moral progress yet. And there is no way we can change a humanity. We cannot live in a fraternity that we are designed to live. We are not still very far to live a more perfect, more loving life, because we still lack self-love and dignity. And look at these rates, just to keep us, to exemplify how important it is for us to, every time we talk about self-love and dignity, look at the suicide rates that we have in the world. This is according to the World Health Organization. So there's close to 800,000 people died to suicide every year, which is 1 person every 40 seconds. That's just amazing. In the US, it is the number one, there is 1 death every 25 attempts. 45 people die per year. It costs 69, what was that? 45,000, I'm sorry. I said 45? Yeah, 45,000 die per year. It costs $69 billion annually. Suicide occurs throughout the lifespan, and it is the 2nd leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years old globally. 15 to 29, this is really the phase that we are really open. We're becoming young adults, and this is the first phase of our lives that we are really encountering the world, right? And for some reason, there is a lack in the foundation, the foundation of love, that it put us in risk, right? It's becoming more and more common. So let's talk about this suicide. It's more related to self-love. So there is something going on about us not loving ourselves enough, not building that foundation for the ones that depend on us, not being in contact with the core of our being, our spiritual side. Divorce, it's a good leading connection for us when we talk about dignity. It's like how we relate to others, right? So when we're talking about divorce, the opposite, it's marriage. It's becoming a family. It's being part of the creation, and a family, we transform society, Divorce is the opposite. It's when we cannot get along, right? I guess a lot of us have been through divorce. I have been through divorce. But it's unbelievable what we have for divorce nowadays. In the U.S., is 53% of the divorce rate. So every 2 people, 1 will get divorced, right? So it's like half of us will not make it through the marriage. In Europe, Spain, Portugal, Luxembourg, it's even worse. They're getting to 60% rate. In Belgium, they had reached 70%. So in Europe, it's like, very well, established societies. It looks like there's a lot of culture. So it's not lack of culture. It is not lack of technology. Because the U.S. and some of these countries in Europe, they're like leaders in economics, leaders in so many cultural aspects. It is the love. It is lacking love, patience, tolerance, right? So in Chile looks like to be a good place to to be, right? It's only 3%. Brazil, the divorce rate is at 46%. So we're, very close to the 50%. So those are very sad statistics, and those are pretty current. So when we talk about here, going back to what Joanna was saying, we're lacking this deep meaning of dignity. What is the deep meaning of dignity? Living with dignity, it's living, trying to find everything that we are capable of and living honestly, getting along, being productive, being whole, right? Wholesome, that's the word that we use. Be wholesome. And living with liberty in every aspect. That's dignity. Liberty of your mind, liberty of your actions, being responsible for our actions, and doing the best we can. What happens when we lack dignity, we lack courage, we lack integrity, we lack moral values, which is very basic, right? That we're taught since we're kids. For some reason, we're failing. That's why we have those rates like this. The lack of loving ourselves. Why does that happen? And what is our responsibility towards all of that's happening? So in question 913 of the Spirit's book, Kardec asks these questions: among the vices, which one can we consider the most radical? And the answer is selfishness. Selfishness is all evil comes from it. And the follow-up of it, in how can we eliminate it? With the predominancy of moral life before material life. But then this is the point that everybody says, well, we know that. It's very philosophical, right? We know the answers. And why is so difficult to apply, right? What is really, how can we separate ourselves from the physical life? Because we have to interact with each other. We are here. Progress means that we strive to make material progress, and there is nothing wrong with that. Being eager to do better, to live better, to have more comfort, to offer more to everyone, there is nothing wrong with that. The problem is the imbalance, right? When we just go one way too much and we start living a life that we become just a product of that life, and then there is no balance to the core of who we are. The core of who we are, it is so simple to find, but the problem is that we it lives in hiding. It's hidden there. Like, how many times do we talk to ourselves? How many times do we really ask ourselves questions that we should be able to answer? Like, who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? most of the times we just live out of routine. And we're going to talk about routine because this is very important for us to reflect upon it and try to change a little bit. And the question was, okay, so how do we eliminate this selfishness, right? How do we eliminate this, the vanity, the living for the senses? So we have to bring on moral life. And how do we find moral life within us? How do we progress? And the answer is, it's to know ourselves. Know thyself. That's a great philosopher. We believe it's Socrates who wrote, what is the best way for one to make progress, to make moral progress, for one to really achieve living a life more value. And the answer is, one should know themselves. But the problem is, do we really care? Do we really care to know ourselves? And what happens is, I have this picture here, which pretty much if you see this young guy here, say he's 20, and then 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So that's probably a 50 years life cycle here. What happens is that we are so absorbed by the day-to-day, by old concepts, we do very, very little renewal exercise of reaching serenity. We just become part of this vibration of this very, the world vibration. It's like if you transform, if you think about vibration and how it is living in the exterior of ourselves, when we have a very inner, very, very complex and very powerful self. It is like the life that we live in our outside. If you're to transform the vibration into a sound vibration, if you take a musical instrument, the life that's going on around us and the way we interact physically and materially with everything will be like a tuba. Boom, 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 boom. That's how the tuba does. And our spirit, ourselves spiritually, is like a flute. So there is definition, there is harmony. It's more refined because that's how we are internally. But in the outside, the way we're living is boom, it's like a percussion, right? Which is important. It's not like the flute, it's better than the tuba. They're just different. One has more complex structure, and the other one, it's reacting to its structure. So we are, before we go over that message, we have to live a life that has meaning. Even if you do not achieve anything throughout your whole entire life, if we don't know ourselves, if we don't care to know ourselves, if we even, and this is not just for, regardless, this is if we made the worst mistakes of our lives. This is for the person who is very righteous and for a person who is have a very criminal mind. The problem is to not live in the label, to really know who we are, because the moment that we understand who we are, the moment that we understand what's our essence, we understand our actions. We can reassess and we can make changes. But the time that we just live in denial, we're just, living according to everything that's going on, it is difficult. So renewal, it takes more than just, it's not just a process. It's an inner transformation. I selected a message here from Emmanuel. It's called Our Cross. So as a reflection from this passage from Mark, if anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. And then Emmanuel takes this verse from Mark and says, let's talk about it. Let's see how we can apply this into transforming ourselves, into knowing ourselves, understanding what we are here for. So he starts like this: let no one complain unnecessarily, needlessly, right? Pain is a process. Perfection is the end. Thus, all who walk towards evolution or redemption each have their cross. So cross is a symbolic, right? It's a symbol of we all have a purpose. We all have issues, defects, guilty conscience. That comes from a different life. We are living a life of we're trying to do the best we can, but for some reason stuff happens all the time. Things don't go right. People hate us for no reason, and we're just trying to do good, and we don't understand, and we react over this, and it's hard to understand it if we don't really get to know ourselves. Continuing, while one is eager, other owes. And to come true or to pay back, life asks for a price. No one conquers something without striving in some way, and no one redeems this or that debt without suffering. As long as the creature does not acquire consciousness of its own responsibility, it moves in the world in the semi-rational aspect, accumulating problems of its own head. Okay, now I'm going to stop here. There's a second part to this. Look where the highlight. Pain is a process. Perfection is the end. Evolution or redemption. So the path is for evolution. The path is we're going to reach perfection sometime in the future. Future, I mean lifetimes, right? We're going to get there. It's not, Jesus didn't say this just to cheer up. He said it as a matter of fact. We're going to get there. It's going to, how fast we're going to get to it, how fast we're going to get to the perfect happiness, the complete happiness, to fulfill everything that we're built for, the time is going to be up to us. How we live these experiences, how we react in this journey, how we choose to change ourselves from time to time. Let's talk about the danger of just getting caught and not moving forward. I have a very short video here.
Disheartening conditions that a human can be stricken with. In the true sense of the term, boredom is the monotonous and lifeless experience of life itself. To be frequently bored is to be out of sync and disconnected from life. It is not a natural or useful experience. It is a result of one's over-attachment to daily routine. Routine is a part of life. We love the comfort and consistency that routine gives us, and we fear the uncertainty that comes with any deviation from it. Our gravitation towards daily routine is likely a reflection of our necessity for internal routine. We require consistent internal functions in order to maintain physiological health. For the purpose of survival, our heartbeat, breath, blood flow, digestive processes, regulatory brain functions, and so on must all adhere to routine. In order to ensure this, though, our brain often casts the net of routine over our entire life. When we accept this paradigm of routine, we ignore the fact that our daily life does not have to always match our physiological one. A life founded entirely on routine does not fulfill the more conscious component of human existence. When we live too heavily with routine, we may be alive on the inside, but we are dead on the outside. Understanding the different forms of routine helps one begin to properly strain them from one another and apply them appropriately to life.
Okay, so the point here is for us to understand why we get caught up in routine, in living so mechanically. So you notice that it is part of our physiological being, right? The issue is that we get ourselves so distant from our spiritual being, and we cannot never forget that we are not this physical body, and that's why we see those rates of suicide and such an incredible rate of divorce and people just hating people, because we are not finding ourselves inside. We are spirits living a physical experience. This is just an envelope, but a very necessary one. This is a vehicle. This is a vessel of my spiritual journey right now. And we have been doing this for a good while, thank God. And we're going to continue doing that. The spiritual side of ours, it is our essence, is immortal, and we are part of the creation of God. So we are right now just passing by here, but we'll continue. And why do we have to be doing this over and over and over again? It's to get the purity that we need. We are created all equal, simple and lacking knowledge. So every experience that we have in the physical body, it brings it's like us going to school, right? It's us moving forward and us experiencing different types of, sometimes we can come back as a man, sometimes as a woman, in different colors, in different regions, very rich, very poor, very smart, not so smart, but doing so many other things. So we have to build ourselves in different ways, intellectually, morally, emotionally, and spiritually. The Spirit accumulates all of this experience and it builds on what we already are. And we become more complete, more experienced, and we help others to do the same. It's not a very selfish journey. That's why we are meant to be in family, in society, in humanity. But at the end of the day, we're just all brothers and sisters, all the same. Let's go to the second part of our message here, which got stuck. I appreciate the opportunity because in preparation for these talks, we try to do the walk as well, not just do the talk, and it's very challenging, so I appreciate the opportunity. But please, even correct me if I say something here that doesn't make sense. The second part is, however, waking up to the necessity of peace within himself or herself, he immediately discovered the cross that belongs to his own carelessness. So, do you know that the most car accidents, right? Most of the car accidents happens because of our own fault. That's why we have to drive so defensively, right? Because especially now, people are texting, people are just distracted. Even people who are paying attention, they make they're very negligent in some very basic stuff, and we see that all the time. Very little, it's a malfunction of the car, it's because the sign was like green in both sides. Most of the times because we are very careless. So incarnated or discarnated, united to the earth, they all bind themselves to the same imposition of progress and redemption. We talk about progress. How about redemption? Let's take a pause here. Redemption. And we're talking about relationships, right? So as we enter this life, and with the grace of God, we have been erased from everything that happened in the life that just passed by us, the last incarnation. But in the last incarnation, and we keep repeating in this own incarnation, we have done some bad stuff with other people, or other people has done bad stuff to us. We have crossed people, we have betrayed, we have done so many things that we wouldn't be very happy to know. So God gives us a clean slate. We start off fresh. Imagine if we were to live this life with all of these memories. Oh my God, that person, the person that I stole from, or, and so on, so on, so on. Or that, and sometimes it happens that we are in the same family, That's why sometimes we have more affinity towards some people and not towards the others. Because at the end of the day, the law of progress is a law of love. And there is no love without forgiveness. And this is our greatest task here. Love and forgiveness. So redemption is, we are, but none of us were perfect. That's why we're in the same journey, right? We're going to get there, but we're not angels. So people did stuff to us, people crossed us, but we also did similar things, if not worse. So that's why we say in the Lord's Prayer, forgive our debts, our debtors, as forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. So we are doing both movements in this incarnation and in many others until we don't need to do this no more. Here, it's going to be a period that we don't need to incarnate no more. We're just going to be in the spiritual realm. And guess what? There are so many other worlds out there that, thank you, Mother Earth. Jupiter, here we come. Yeah, it's a different experience. And so we go on. Maybe we can even go to another galaxy. We have to think big, right? God did not create just Earth. How many of us think we're just going to stay on Earth and that's it? We have to think in a way of how our spirit is built. We are not to be stuck just here. We love it. It's a beautiful blue planet, and we love everyone here, and we like to encounter many people that we in other places. But life is a tremendous experience that we have no clue right now because we don't remember. But once we are sleeping, don't we have like some crazy dreams sometimes that we're like different places that sometimes it is our imagination just making up stuff. But a lot of times it is a real spiritual experience. We are in different places with different people that have nothing to do with the life we have here. And it's incredible, it's great. And the more we're in touch with our spiritual side, the more we're going to have this experience, and the more lucid this experience are, the more are that we're really making progress towards that. So in the carnal circle, the cross is the organic difficulty, the social step, the unhappy relative. On the spiritual plane, it is the shame of the unfaithful inner defect, the atonement of guilt, unpaid debt. So everything's happening, right? So there is no secret in the spiritual plane. There's no mask. We cannot hide. So anything that we fail to complete here is like mission not accomplished. Everybody will know. We'll carry it on our karma, and people is not going to, depending where we are. It's like André Luiz when he was on the lower zones, because it was the lower zone. People would say, oh, you were a suicide. You were a suicide. And he was like, no, I'm not. And he says, yes, you were. And it took him some time, and he really lived a life that he was not it was an indirect suicide. It was the type of life that he lived, how he ate and how he lived the life, and he really, his life ended because of his neglect. And once we are there, it's very clear what kind of person we are and what happened to us. Let us therefore have the courage to follow the Lord in our longing for resurrection and victory. For this, however, let us be mindful that we must forget the enticing selfishness and take up our cross. So our cross is really everything that we have to do better. We don't need to know who I was in a different life. I just need to know who I am right now, what I'm doing right now. I don't need to think who I'm going to be, because I am the same person before and the same person who's going to live in the future. The important thing is, who am I now? What am I doing? If I analyze my life, myself, and my goods and my bads, my virtues and my vices, I can pretty much tell, what I need to work on, and where I think I'm in the right place. So this is pretty simple, and the cross is really taking up responsibility for the part of forgiveness that we have to conquer. It's very hard because we have pride, and pride is an obstacle. Our pride is we were talking about our biological self. We have many issues in our biological self that are impediments for us to really let our spirit be free and acting upon it. The road to transformation. So I was, as I was mentioning, in preparation for this talk about a month and a half ago, I was feeling that, that vibration, the tuba vibration, bam, 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 bam. No, this means like, you wake up every day, you think you're a good person, you're not doing, but, living life and keeping up with your responsibilities. But one day I woke up and I said to myself, I'm not feeling it. It's like it's like everything was like average, and I was like going by it, but I was not feeling very happy. I think I was getting like always like we call like a pre-depression. It's like and then I started doing a self-analysis, trying to see. And then I look at myself in the mirror and like, whoa, please, if you're a couple pounds overweight, please do not take this personal, because that was my personal experience. So I look at myself in the mirror. I was used to have a little melon on my belly, because after 40, you're not going to have a flat stomach. So I used to my stomach, but the melon that I used to carry on my stomach, it became a watermelon. And it was huge. And I would look, I was looking, I was like, who's this person? And that was going on for about 3-4 months. And, my wife, God bless her, so she's like, and I said, honey, my goodness. What's going on with me? And she said, no, honey, you're probably just tired, life, And like, no. Something hit me right there. It wasn't just because of my weight, or everything was happening, because what's happening inside of us, we manifest outside in our physical, and everything gives you a sign. So I was having an inner sign that was getting a little bored, like they say, like boredness, bored, but things. So I said, I have to do something about it. And a week passed by, 2 weeks passed by. I did nothing. And then a couple of weeks later, I take another look at the mirror. I say, oh my God, that watermelon was like 2 times bigger. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but I need to do something about it. So I said, okay. I read this book here. I said, I'm gonna get some enlightenment. So there is no better enlightenment from Paul, who was a very, very bad guy. Not in a sense that he did bad. He was just stuck in such a ways that he really needed to go to a very hard transformation in order for him to be and do whatever he did. So I read this book and I said, oh my goodness, these people really, really had a tough life back then. What these early Christians went through and everything. So after I read this book, and of course, I read this book and there's other references, like a very good reading I recommend. It's Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. He's like a more a yogi kind of reading, but it deals with you finding yourself inside and asking those existential questions and open up your mind and trying to live that. And so, after I finished this book, I said, I'm gonna need to do something about my cross, right? We were just talking about cross. I know what I need to do. I need to wake up 1 hour early every day, because I know that one of my problems was just like waking up and just keeping going with the day. I need to give some time to myself. I need to, at the end of the day, I said, you know what? I'm lacking self-love. I'm not loving myself enough. That's what's going on. I had the answer. It's just that I was not really prepared to I know the talk, but I couldn't do the walk yet. But then after I read the book, I decided to do the 21-day experiment. It takes 21 days for you to change a habit. So instead of waking up at 7 in the morning every day, I decided to wake up at 6 in the morning every day. And in that 1 hour, for 21 days, I was going to start my meditation, really, open up prayer, meditation, think, be grateful. It was just going to be about myself. And it's just me in the house. Everybody's sleeping, kids sleeping, and the cat will come sometimes and spend time with me, but that's about it. And today is day 21. For the past 21 days, it is amazing what you do for self-love. I lost those 10 extra pounds. That pre-depression or whatever was going on, it went away because I started to use better the energy. We have so much going on for us. It's like a waste. We waste beautiful energy. We are surrounded by so much love that we take it for granted. And at one point, I was in the whole process like, look at me. I was the guy who had that accident. I died, and then I came back, and I live every day, a new day, and I just become an ordinary, So in these past 21 days, I got my melon back. The watermelon went away, and I feel more alive, and I feel more connected because I was giving myself a little more attention. And instead of going through the day, I started in that 1 hour, I started to plan my day a little better. And I started working with a checklist of things that I haven't done for months, procrastinating, and I'm getting things through. That makes you happy because you get things done. And then, you do a little cardio, you do a little, back exercise. For you to have an idea, I had 3 back surgeries. So it was 2001 when I had my first back surgery. And I recall what my physical therapist and my doctor told me. Valdo, for the rest of your life, because I have a deviated disc, slip disc, herniated disc, and he says, you're prone to have this. For the rest of your life, you have to do a few exercises. You're going to lay flat on the floor, and you have to, do this. And you're going to need to do this, and stay there. 2001. I did that a couple of times, a bunch of times, 2001. Time passed by. I stopped doing it. So we are in 2019, and I had 2 other back surgeries. And when the pain came, I used to be very good about it. and it went away. So long story short, I started doing that again, right? Doing the exercise. And your guilty mind goes back and says, why haven't I done this? It feels so good. It's like it is a combination of things. It is the physical, but it is your mind who's really healing yourselves. It's so simple. 15 minutes, you just do stretch, you do stuff, and that's it. So I recommend that you give this 21 days a trial. I did it. You have to do it 3 times for a good habit to stick with you. You do for 21 days, and then the second phase, if you do 3 times, you'll be fine. So that's how we reach serenity. So if we don't reach a level of serenity, we're not able to go through life, really trying to really find the meaning of life. We just go by it. Serenity, there is a, I don't have it here, easy. But serenity, it's not just a state of mind. Serenity, it's a whole thing. It's you being in balance, in harmony with life, with what you do, with your dreams, with your universe, everything that you do. It's being in peace with everything. So in order for us to achieve serenity, we have to take care of those 3 things. We got to take care of our health, we got to harmonize ourselves mentally and emotionally, and most importantly, elevate ourselves spiritually. So I was just giving an example that I put myself in this pyramid, and it is amazing. And I am the biggest procrastinator you ever know, right? In procrastination, it's something that we do it because we try to do so many things sometimes that we end up not doing much. And then we put off, and we are penalizing ourselves. So in the first level, avoid procrastination. Go to the doctor, to the dentist, to the therapist. People are afraid to go to the therapist. But because people are afraid, I don't have a mental problem, because if I go to a therapist, I have a mental problem. This is a very bad concept that we have, because we all need, sometimes it's not a mental issue, it comes from a chemical imbalance. The problem is that a mental issue becomes bigger if we don't take care of it when they first present itself. And then, with help, we can cope with everything that we need to do. Gotta keep discipline with our diet and exercise. Gotta respect our diet. Gotta do some exercise. Good hygiene, be neat, and we do care. Be prudent. Free ourselves from addictions, and if we do have addictions, we have to seek help, because if we do not recognize that we have an addiction, we have a problem, we're never going to get better. We need help. And emotionally, we got to keep good thoughts, got to find good company, happy, and sound conduct. So if we're surrounded with people very negative, it's like they say, right? Tell me who are your company, and I'll tell you who you are. So got to make sure that, sometimes we want to help other people, but we can't even help ourselves. We're not going to help them. Got to help ourselves first, and then we help others. Keep good habits and lose the bad ones. Seek help. One of the things of good habits, it's do the exercise of thoughts. We have so many thoughts, over 50,000 thoughts a day. We have just to throw the bad ones away, replace them, get a recycle, because our mind is just going. We have just to stop and try to find serenity. Be productive and positive in all you do. Be calm. Be calm. Avoid excesses. And this be calm is like, if everything is going wrong, just put your foot on the brake. Stop the car. Stop your train. Try to find where you lost the road. Go back. If you need help, get yourself a GPS. But you cannot continue in the same path we're doing, because we know where we're going to get to. And finally, talk to God. That's how we elevate ourselves spiritually. Ask, accept, silence yourself. Meditate and be grateful. Forgive, help, share, and love always. Transform yourself. Remember, you are an immortal spirit who is loved very much by the creator of our spirit, and was created to achieve perfection. And to conclude, this is what we're here for. Compassion and forgiveness starts at home. If we cannot love, forgive, and have compassion with the people who are most important in our lives, we won't be able to do this in a bigger spectrum. Because at the end of the day, we are supposed to love everybody equally. But we have to do this at home. That's why God put those people in our lives. Sometimes they're not even related by blood, but they're related to us in such a way, and we have to do our best. I thank you very much. I hope with this, we can all get some enthused to do some renewal, right? I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you very much.